Welcome back to Chen Design. Today we are going to use this opportunity on this high heel shoes object to discuss many different type of the technique for Rhino 7 surface. Are you ready? Let's get started. Let's starting from the scratch for this practice file, and you can get this practice file at the description below. Just sign up a newsletter and then you can able to download this file. You can also trace your own design as long as you have a side view and also the sole on the bottom, and you can starting from there as well. So let's get into this practice file, and I'm going to talk about how to alter it. All right. So to building the surface, we need to build this surface first, then we'll build the heel. And notice that there's a breaking in between here and there. I actually need to move the part up a little bit. So I actually wanted to split this one with the point somewhere right there and join this one back. And once you join it, keeping a good habit, always want to rebuild this one because it will make your surface look nicer. So I'm going to type it rebuild, and then you can rebuild as many points as you want. Try to keep it less as possible, but if this is too much of a deviation in this area, you may want to bump up the number. So let me bump up to the 18 and see it get really close there. Okay, and then let's click OK. Now, also, this is not in the scale. It is just try to show you how to build. So if you are a shoes designer, you may need to know like what is the right angle for the heel and also what is the proper scale. So here's just showing you how to build the shape in the Rhino model. Okay, so first of all, I need to have a line coming over here, kind of showing where it's in the middle part. And so I can bring this shape up. So let's go ahead to look at the front view. I want to draw a line starting from the endpoint. So make sure your OSNet endpoint is on. And I wanted to draw it coming down here, follow the shape right here, roughly coming over here, and something like this. I actually like it to be a little bit longer. I should have this one a little bit longer too, just in case we don't get it too short. All right, so this is a black line there. Now notice that in our perspective view, there are a few different color. I would like to get this shape follow this line there. So we're going to do is using the commands called curve from to view. So I got one view here, I got the other view, they are flat to the construction plane. Curve from to view, it helps us to create a curve in between those two. So now you see this line right there. We need to make sure this line is touching this point, which is not right here. That's because curve from to view, it calls something like that. To make you understand more, I'm going to move this one out and I'm gonna bring it back to that point. So let me hiding this black one here, so it might be easier for you to understand. I need to bring this one at the very end of this point here and this point here, snapping it to this endpoint in this endpoint. So what I like to do is coming into the transform. You have the orient to point, right? So I click on this one, hit enter. I want to snapping into the endpoint here, and second reference line is endpoint here as well. I'm going to bring it over here the first endpoint and the second endpoint, but look at that. Even though I snapping into the endpoint, it's not touching the end to the end. So right here on the top, we don't need to have the copy equal no. Scale here, I actually want them to do 3D, so I can snapping into this endpoint there. So now it is touching, I have those points. All right, so right now what we wanted to do is actually split this one into half so we can creating the surface. We're gonna use the split command, and because it's touching the endpoint, I can just using this curve to split this one into half. All right, so let me hiding this one and this one so it's not confusing you. We are going to creating the surface there. One thing that you can do, I'm going to show you different things here. You can do with the loft, and then I explain the loft in a video. It's called Sweet Potato a while ago. If you are interested in that, please look at the right top corner right here. I will have the video there to showing you how to make an organic shape like sweet potato with the left command. But basically you click on 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order, and then you hit enter, and you will get the shape like this. Notice the shape has a lot of a line there. It's because it will go maximum for whatever point there. If you do not want to have so many lines, let's click OK, and I'm gonna moving this to the side for you to compare. If we click on this, you see this point. We click on this point. Those two doesn't have much of a problem, but this one, because we use these curve from the two view, that's why you get so many points there, and that's why the surface is complicated like that. So if you rebuild those two, let's do rebuild. And we want to look at the top view to see if it's changing way too much. We're gonna change into 18 point. And that is the same. So this one and this one on the bottom, we want to make sure they are 18 point as well. And you can see all of them are 18 point. So if we left this one, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order, and you will get something like that. And you might wonder why it's like missing big chunk of it. It's because you tell it right now, say go from 12, 9, 6, and 3. So they stop at 3. If you say close left, then it will close it, and then you will get something like this, right? Now, with this shape, it's much easier if you want to turn on a control point, and then you can keep editing. For example, you want to move in this up, you want to, do something like that. As long as you maintain a single surface, you can continue to edit it. Another thing that you want to have a lot more control, and I'm gonna do one more time, is we're gonna use exactly the same command. Left 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter. We close the left. Before you hit enter, you want to record a history, and then you click OK. So instead of turn on control point of this one, we can turn on the control point of the curve, and then you can move the curve and it will follow. It's because you have a history recorded. However, when I'm looking at design, I feel like whoever wears these shoes feels super painful, right? Because it's more like an alien. Nobody's feet is gonna fitting in there. It's not realistic. And that's because we follow this bottom shape for the sole. And the sole can be small, but not saying the body should be small. So I actually like to have some adjustment that I can kind of tweaking somewhere right here in the middle. So I'm going to delete this one and delete this one. And let's do one more things before we do the surface. So let's go ahead to do this with the command. It's called curve from cross-section profile. And what that means is if you choose the profile in the order 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and 6 o'clock, then you're coming over to the front view, you hit enter. Then I'm going to draw a curve right here, another curve right here, another curve right here, and whichever you think is necessary. Maybe one more here because I want to make it wider. And once you hit enter, you're going to see that it creating the curve follow the beginning of those curves there. And I'm going to mark those curves into other colors so it's easier for you to see. So now you see our structures like this. Okay, so creating the surface, we are going to use the other command. Under the surface, you have a curve network. And we're gonna pick up all 4 of this, and 1, 2, 3, 4 for all 4 of them. And you hit enter. Before you hit enter to commit it, notice that this all the point we need to do adjustment. So I want to record a history and hit enter, right? So now not just I can changing the profile, I can also make this part wider. For example, I can scale it up, something like this. And also I can scale 1D scale, maybe something like this. And if I feel like a certain part I may need to have it wider, I could maybe, I feel like all of them need to be wider. It's really look not comfortable, but again, I'm not the shoes designer, just try to get the shape to give you some idea if you do want to do the shoes design. And again, you have to follow the industry standard to make sure that it is workable. Okay, so yeah, it look a little bit better, and then you can keep tweaking. Not just you can scale it. Maybe there's a certain point you feel like this should be go higher, then you can do something like that. You can also turn on the control point on this curve, and doing the same thing, you can edit this and shape it will follow. Okay, so I will leave it to you for you to do all the final tweaking. Here just showing you, this what you can alter from there. Okay, so now we have this shape. In your practice file, you also have those two lines here, and that is also the line that we can trim things off. So I'm gonna pick up those two lines or two curve, and I'm going to trim off here and trim off here and here. All right, so then I have this opening. At the same time, you will say you break the history. That means if I keep tweaking from there, nothing is gonna change. It's because once you trim it, physically to change the surface, then you'll change it forever, right? So you cannot keep the history. And the way to making into the thickness, I could just pick up this surface, and we want to offset the surface. When I offset the surface, you can choose offset inside or outside. In this case, if I want to offset outside or inside, you can kind of flip it so the arrow will point either inside or outside. And also, you can set it up the thickness right here. Currently, I have 2.5 and solid equal no. So I want a solid equal yes, and I want to hit enter. So then you will see something like this. Right now, notice that it is really sharp here. If you take a look on the render, if you have this on your portfolio, you want them to look nicer, right? This look like it made from wood, and we need to have something nicer. So you can simply just giving a fillet edges. Let's say I want to have a fillet for 0.3. It doesn't need to be too big, but if I want to fillet here and here, here and here, go all the way, I hit enter. So you will see something like this, a little bit rounder, right? So if you take a look on the render view, whatever material you assign, it will be softer compared with this. But still, it doesn't feel like it is soft good. It doesn't feel like it's soft enough. So what I wanted to do and show you my little trick is coming back here. And we still want to do offset. So let's do offset. And we pick up this surface, and I want to offset outside. However, I do not want a solid. So solid equal no. And you hit enter. So basically, you got two surfaces with all the opening, right? And to make it connected nicely, we are going to use the blend command. So let's use a blend surface, and we want to blend and make sure the chain edge is equal yes, and we want to blend from here to here and hit enter. You're gonna have this window pop up, and that allow you to move it, higher or lower on your blend. And once you click OK, and if you take a look on the render view, it is much nicer. So once you assign the material, it won't feel like that harsh. It will feel more like a soft good. So we want to do the same thing with the blend surface, and make sure chain edge equal yes. We want blend between here and here. All right. So again, you can adjust the height if you want to, and don't forget to join them back. Once you join, keep it a good habit, always check on your property here on the right side. It will say closed solid polished surface, and you can keep going on. If you see any point it is not closed solid polished surface, you might want to check why it is that. A certain point, maybe the blend, maybe the fitted, it break it, and you have a naked edges. Even though we are not printing this, we still want to keep a good habit to keep doing that. All right, so now you have the body. We need to have a bottom of the sole right there. Now, if I coming over here at the front view, I actually wanted to draw a line to showing where the sole is going to be. Coming into the front view, I'm going to having another layer and just turning into the red color, just easier for you to see the line. I want to turn off the all snap so it's not snapping anywhere, and I want to actually make sure that I draw a curve and to follow whatever the sole supposed to be. So it's something going to be like this. And again, if you are a shoes designer, you might need to adjust to be the right position here for the manufacturing process. And then I wanted to decide what is the thickness on this one. So I want to also offset this guy to be something a little bit thicker. So maybe 3 millimeter right there. So I have something like this. So you see there's a 2 line there. And then I wanted to close this line. So let's go ahead to turn it back for our all snap, and then that's snapping here, endpoint to endpoint, coming here, snapping endpoint to endpoint. Alright, so I'm gonna coming over here, select all the curve, and that's join it. Alright, that's hiding this guy right here, so you see what I'm doing here. Change this to other color. I got so many color here, so bear with me. And maybe dark green. Okay. All right, so now you see those color right there. What we wanted to do is having this one, and basically that's extruded straight, and make sure it's on the both side. Okay, that is one. And we pick up this one, extruded all the way up like this. And what we need is somewhere in the middle. So I'm going to use the bowling tool, and we have the ones called bowling intersection. So I'm gonna click on here, and the second set is here, and then we'll get something like this. All right, and again, for the better rendering, you always want to make sure that they having as little fitted possible. And so this piece, you could do the same thing with the blend. You can extract the surface and blend it, or you can simply just fit it. So I want to do a small fitted for 0.5 here, and let's click on here and click on here, and we'll do 0.5. All right, so double make sure it's a closed solid polished surface, and then you can see I got a base over there. Okay, so let's turn on what we had there earlier. And you might need to do some adjustment like this one, because we make it wider and not necessarily contact really nicely. So maybe this piece need to be more narrower, something like this, to fit it better. Okay, so once it's done, you may also to check on it and see if this piece is too small. At this point, it feel like it is a little bit too small, and you might need to alter it a little bit, which means this one should be a little bit longer or wider. So I'm going to redo again and just showing you my making process. A lot of time you model multiple times until you get something that you like. So we are going to extrude this one more time, and extrude this one more time. And again, we want to do the bowling intersection, this one and this one, right? So it will cover it better. And as you can see, this is a little bit caving, so actually we need to trim this one off there. Okay, and then you can keep adjusting until you find, you know, maybe you just need to get it wider a little bit, which means this piece need to be wider at this point, and you can keep adjusting until you find the perfect shape. Once you find the shape and that is fitting into it, and that cover the area you want to cover, what you want to do is using the bowling split, and you want to pick up this one and split by this one. So you can delete the extra here, here, and also the one on the bottom, and keep tweaking until you find something that you like. So let's take a look on the render view and see if that is what you want. And if this is too much, you need to trim it off. You might want to do it again to having this one to adjust, and then trim it off the extra there. Alright, so let's talk about the heel. So I want to hiding this one and this one just so we can just dealing with the curve. And I also want to hiding, let's say, everybody else, so it's easier for you to see. We can just dealing with this guy here. Alright, so for the heel, and you can decide it what you like to have the heel. I basically wanted to do is create something really simple. So I wanted to have a rectangle, for example, right here with the square, and then using the arc tool to kind of making one side a little bit rounder, and using this one to trim off this guy and this guy. Alright, and then I want to join all of them, and don't forget to giving a little fitted edges. So I wanted to do maybe one and see what happened. Alright, that's acceptable, and I want to fit it here as well, here as well. Maybe it's hard to see, maybe you want to have a bigger angle, but make sure you join all of them. Alright, so that is one, and I need to have this curve, the closed curve we just create, going to the bottom and also going to the top. So that's using the command transform, and then you have orient to point, and I want to pick up this one, orient from core to the midpoint, and then make sure that I do want to copy, because I need two of them, and scale is 3D. I want to go from here to here and also here to here. Alright, it will proportionally, and we can delete this one, it will go proportionally, you know, in between the distance that you have here. And if we turn it back to our shoes, you're going to see this is like way too wide there. So we do want to have a 1D scale and scale it down to the right place. Alright, so let's take a look on this one. We are going to create a surface by sweep to rail. You got rail 1, rail 2, and you got this curve and also this curve. And make sure that layout align, and sometimes it's easier just move it back to, you know, one of the rail, so you make sure that they will align, and we will get the shape like this. Okay, so now we have the button. We can close it by using the cap command, and you can close there. Now it will stick it up here in the bottom. That's okay. I'm going to deal in between those two. Let me change this into the green color. Alright, and let me hide in this one. Alright, so you now see this is sticking up, but it's within this area there. So what I wanted to do is using again bowling split. I want to split this guy by this red one here, and then you can go ahead to delete those two extra, this one and that one, so that won't show, and it will be really flush to the surface there. Okay, so we want to turn it back here, and you can do the same thing to get rid of the inside. If the rendering is not gonna see, that's okay. Okay, so now we have the part for the body, the sole, and also the heel. We are going to, so let me hiding all the curve and hiding it, and with this I actually wanted to just group them, and for the rendering purpose, and this is for the left feet, and I also need to have it the right one, and simply you can just mirror. This is the beauty of using the computer, right? So we can just mirror it, and then we will have a set. And for the better rendering, you might want to position in the angle of more human will have, like will stand like this way. And that way, let's take a look on the render view. Then you will have this high heel shoes. If you are the beginner and there's a lot of command doesn't make sense to you, I suggest you check out my online course for intro to intermediate course that will help you understand all my video on the YouTube better. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next.